Okay, probably around about the fifth time I've tried making this. I get about 5 minutes in and I have to delete it because I just can't do it. It's a topic I want to talk about, but it ends up being about me every time, and that's not really why I want to do this. I can't generalize it either because I don't have the history associated with it. It's about men, by the way, just in case you're wondering, and the issues that a lot of us blokes are actually having at the moment. And it's kind of complicated because I don't really get out of the house. I don't play sports. I don't really do a lot of socializing. In fact, probably 99.9% of my life is spent on my own. And it's really hard to sort of do this because I don't want it to be all about me, because that's not fair. But it always ends up being that way. And it comes about because of a few things that I've seen over the past few weeks. And I'm not going to name names, and I'm not going to say where I saw them. Most of them are on YouTube. Some of them, no, I'm not even going to do that. So most of them are on YouTube. Some of them are on TV. And there's a lot of, I'm going to say pain. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stuff that isn't talked about, but you kind of see it. And many years ago, or a few years ago, a former girlfriend got me to do a test, and I mean, you just do it because it keeps them happy. And it was about a 5-page test, and it was multiple choice, four answers for each question. And basically it turned out that my personality type, which was what the test was for, was called an INFJ. Now, if you don't know what that is, look it up. And it explains me pretty much to a T. Because I did the test, but at the time she couldn't give the answer straight away. It had to be sent off or something like that. And then you got the results about a week later. So it turned out that I was an INFJ with empathic side sort of things, so partially empathic. So I've struggled to sort of look at certain things without getting certain feelings about things, and that's just been me my entire life. So you sort of see these videos of guys, and you kind of get the feeling that there's, I don't want to say something's going on. It's just a trait that men have in general, I think. With all the stresses of daily life, kids, relationships, work, sport. Like I said, I've never played sport, and I certainly haven't ever had kids. It's, and then on top of that, you've got all the issues with cost of living, fuel costs, etc., etc. And these, how do I put it? You need to be a certain person, not just for public, but also at home as well, and with relations and the rest of it. And at some point, the guys are basically going, I can't do this anymore. These expectations that are being dumped on me are just too much. And at some point they're just going to explode or do something stupid. because as much as they don't talk about what they're actually going through, it's gradually killing them. And I hate using that word. It's not good. So, but I don't really know what to do about it. I'm no doctor, I'm no psychiatrist. I draw houses for a living. I can't fix everyone. That's a proven fact. But I think, I talk to guys all the time. That's just part of the industry that I'm in. And most of them have got kids, families, etc., etc. And what guys tend to do is they tend to throw themselves into work. They just bury themselves in it, absolutely bury themselves. I've done it on numerous occasions. And, when a relationship has broken down, or, something's gone wrong, you fall back on things that, are so consistent. They're like a rock solid thing that you can just go back to, because you know damn well it'll never change. And it doesn't ask anything of you. You can just get buried in it and lose all train of thought. And it reminds me of that comedic video that I'm pretty sure everyone's seen now, about the boxers. There was a comedian who got up on stage and said, what's the difference between men and women? And men have got boxes in their heads, and when they want to think about a certain subject, they go into that room where all the boxes are, and they very gently pull a box out, careful not to touch any of the other boxes, and that's what they think about. That's what they talk about. And then once they've finished that conversation, they put that box back, and then they pull out the next one. Whereas women, they don't have boxes. They've got a bunch of wires. It kind of reminds you of an electrician's nightmare, where you've got wires going everywhere and they're all touching each other and bzz, bzz, bzz. We've all seen the video, and we've all laughed at it, because we know darn well it's true. But when you spend an abnormal amount of time on your own, like I have, you do think of an awful lot of things. And this topic has kind of been one of those. And guys at the moment, I think their boxes are so screwed up at the moment, it's just not funny. Because they're just under pressure from every single angle, and it's getting worse. And these boxes that we always so carefully organised are just, there's no lids on them anymore. They're just screwed up, and it's kind of reached the point where a lot of guys are sort of, desperately trying to keep these boxes intact. In other words, they're desperately trying to pay the bills, keep a job, keep their relationship, keep their kids together, because the kids are having even more problems at schools and wherever they're going. The wives are having troubles at work, and, they're just not, everyone's struggling. And the guys who always basically relied on work are finding out that work isn't reliable anymore. And so it's the one thing that they always went back to, and as a source of almost comfort. And it's not what it used to be. Some guys will go to sport, play football or cricket or golf or whatever. They'll go out there, but a lot of them are finding that it's again, everyone's got the same problem, but no one's willing to talk about it. And so it's almost another box that's fallen open, because they desperately need to talk, but they just don't know how. and it's getting harder and harder and harder. And it's, I mean, if you, a lot of, I mean, I see a lot of these videos where these women are now wanting to be single. So for the single guys, it's making it harder as well because, and I've had this chat with a number of guys now where, they'll go on a few dates and then suddenly realise the women are actually looking for someone to actually come and save them, not in terms of emotional, but that's part of it, but also financially, and not just them, their kids as well, because everyone's finding it incredibly hard. So guys are basically just giving up on dating because the expectations brought down on them are just so massive on top of what they're already dealing with, that they just, it's a process of elimination, really, more than anything else. They want the intimacy, they want the relationships, but they want it for different reasons. They want it for comfort, but the women don't. The women seem to want it for financial security rather than anything else. And so the guys are just going, I'm not even stepping foot in that, because it's like a minefield. You don't know what you're going to get. So it's not just hard for the single guys, and especially once you hit the age of, 40, 45, 50, because these days, I mean, you don't know whether they're a certain age or not. They all look older. I don't know. So, it's kind of like, ooh, no, and and I don't know, it's really difficult to date, like incredibly difficult to date. The ones that are married have other problems, because the kids want the latest phone, they want the latest everything, really, because when they go to school, it becomes a competition. I mean, it was no different to when I went to school. I mean, I wore a pair of Rones while everyone was running around in Adidas or Adidas, however you want to pronounce it. And I just wanted a pair of Adidas because I was then cool. Rones weren't cool. I mean, the funny thing is, my shoes lasted a hell of a lot longer than what everyone else's did. Mum was right, as always, but, it was one of those things that when you're going through that sort of stage of your life, it's hard. So, if you're carrying around an iPhone 14, Mum and Dad can't afford an iPhone 17 or whatever they're up to, or a Samsung, whatever they're up to. So the kids are basically getting bullied because of it, because they've got an old iPhone. I mean, hell, I used to get picked on because I had really bad acne. So, you can kind of, you can understand that. I mean, it's hard to go through, but, you can understand that. A phone is just a piece of plastic that you make phone calls on. Seriously. We didn't have those. We didn't even have Walkmans. I mean, they were expensive. You had to almost get a job or save up or have some really good pocket money. But otherwise, no, you were lucky if you got a Walkman. And I didn't get my first Walkman until I finished school. So, it wasn't, maybe I did, I can't remember. But yeah, it was really hard. Or in fact, it was actually a lot easier now that you look back on it. I mean, we did have it pretty easy, but we still went through our own issues. The girls always thought they weren't pretty enough, because there was always a prettier girl. The guys, well, some of the guys got girlfriends, and I had this conversation with with a girl that I went to school with many years later, and I said, "What did you actually do on dates?" I said, "It's not like, you could drive to a date. Your mum would have to take both of you, or your dad. You didn't really have any money. You might have been able to afford an ice cream, ooh, or maybe your mum and dad gave you some money so you could go and see a movie or something like that. And that was as far as you guys were concerned. A date." I said it just. I mean, I didn't really date until I was much later in life, so certainly didn't do it at school. But then again, I was looked at the weird kid, the what was it, the nerd, even though I wasn't actually I was certainly no nerd. I certainly, I was good in school. I did everything the teachers asked me to do, but that was about it. So, maybe teacher's pet, but not even that. So, but yeah, guys, we never really sort of, I guess we were never really taught how to open up, how to release what we've actually got inside of us. So sometimes I go out bush and scream at the sheep, just yell. I call it yelling at the moon and the stars, but it's just a way of removing any sort of built up tension so that I can then sort of come back on Sunday and go to work on Monday and I'm good again. So, and it's funny, the guys, the amount of times I've been out bush and I go out on my own, and I have no issues with that. But trying to get guys to go out is, I'm going to say, impossible. I mean, for as much as these guys seem to think that they're, Ute guys, getting them out bush, no, they're not interested. And trust me, I did a lot of things when I was younger. I don't do a lot of that stuff anymore because I've gotten older. But we used to go spotlighting. We used to, I used to get roaring drunk some nights with the music up, blaring across 10 paddocks. And, I used to have a whale of time, That's what you did when you were younger. And then I'd fall asleep in a tent and then wake up at 3 o'clock, needing to go and do a pee. I don't do that as much anymore. I think the last time I got really under the weather out there was New Year's Eve, because I was out there New Year's Eve on my own, and that got me down. I wasn't happy about that. I hadn't been invited anywhere. There was, completely on my own. And I have to honestly ask myself whether I've put myself in that position. That's the simple fact. Or, could I have changed anything about my life that would not have had me sitting out there alone on New Year's Eve? As much as I love it out there, I would dearly love to get someone out there, because I can share as much gear as I want on this platform, but to actually experience it is a whole other level, and especially the nights. And I'm recording this Wednesday night, and I am going to be out there this weekend, because the moon is basically a sliver at the moment, and the stars are incredible out there. I mean, they're just astonishing. If you live anywhere near a town or a city, and I don't care whether it's a little town, it's still got street lights, but the moment you go anywhere outside, they are just, it's another world entirely. I don't know how to explain it. I can't explain it, and I will never know how to do it. I swear to God, I should have been a poet, because that would have explained it far better. But I still don't think it would have got to the crux of it. It is simply astonishing. And for the very few people that I've ever, and I can count them on two hands, I've only ever been able to get 10 people out there, and every single one of them have gone home just gone, oh my God, I didn't know this existed. It is flat out stunning. And to see an environment that goes through so many seasonal changes, to watch it over so many years, I mean, no one will ever experience that except for me and the people who go out there regularly and the guy who owns it. But it's something else. I mean, it's just, there's something out there and I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. There's just, the only word I can say is energy, and that doesn't even come close. There's a feeling about it. And this has gone right off topic, by the way, which is typical of me. But trying to get guys out there, we can go spotlighting. Go and do a bit of pew-pew action. We can, have a few beers, a few scotches, sit around the campfire, tell jokes, laugh, do whatever you want. And I can't get them out there. It's just impossible. And it's funny because at the moment I'm a member of a lot of groups, and all of these groups are associated with, if worst comes to worst, we're going to head out bush. Boy, have you guys got some eyes open coming soon, if that's the case. You've got no idea. Absolutely none. If you think you're going to throw your little backpack and your little tent and go out there and be happy, good luck with that. I just think it's hilarious. And especially after this amount of years, actually doing it, in the rain, in the wind, in the 40-degree weather. I've done it all, absolutely all of it. It's not a place you want to live. Even the animals out there, they don't have a choice. That's their home. But they don't really find it very comfortable to be sleeping in 45-degree weather either. And not when it's freezing cold. I mean, at least they got fur and fat and stuff like that. But the kangaroos don't really have a lot of fat on them. I'm telling you, they don't. Most of them are just pure muscle. So to be out there when it's pouring down with rain and freezing cold is not pleasant. And I don't care how big your campfire is. So good luck with that. Yeah, think about that a little bit. And then there's the whole toilet situation, which I'm not going to raise again because I've already done a whole video on that. P.S. My toilet turned up and I'm pretty darn happy with it so far. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But, yeah, guys, you would have thought they'd be out there in droves. Seriously, it's typical guy stuff, like four-wheel drive, sand, bit of pew-pewing, and sitting around the campfire, having a few beers. I mean, if that isn't guy stuff, I don't know what the hell it is, because you won't find a woman out there, I can tell you that. Well, very few of them anyway, so yeah, just not their thing at all, especially with the toilet. And that's not why I bought the toilet. So yeah, it's I don't know, I think. And most of the people commenting on the video so far are other females. And most of you have partners. I don't know. I think it's probably time to actually have a sit down. Just a few words here and there, just to see how hubby's really going. And especially at the moment, with so many things going on in their head that they will not release, because even their mates are going through it and none of them are talking to each other, or very few of them are. There's a lot of groups out there trying to get guys to do this, but guys are guys. They'll talk about the young girls in their mini skirts, and they'll talk about work. They'll talk about anything other than what's going on inside their heads. And I think they really need to talk about it and get it out, because somebody on the news tonight, I won't go into it, but most of you understand what I'm talking about. And I don't think that's an isolated incident. In fact, I'm 100% certain it's not an isolated incident. So, but yeah, the single guys, I get it. I really get it. And it's taken me a long time to get where I am. Every relationship breakdown is horrendous for guys. As much as we just go back to work. That's what we do. Or we go and play with a car, or we go and play football, or play golf. Anything to not talk about it. But at the end of the day, we all go to bed, and some of us don't sleep. Or some of us struggle to sleep. So, and it's because those little boxes are in such a bloody mess at the moment that a lot of us desperately need some help to put it all back together again. And based on what I'm seeing, that's not happening. So there's a lot of ticking time, well, you know the word, out there, and I just wonder how much more they can take, because I don't think a lot can take much more. Which is why I sort of come back to where I probably started some of these videos, was be nice to everyone, not just men, but women as well. Because you do not know what's going on inside their head at any time at all. And you don't know what's going on inside their homes. Because once they close the door and say, I'll see you in the morning, you don't know. None of us do. So you could be following a car down the road, they do something silly, and you're about to go off your chops. Don't. Just drive past, keep doing what you're doing, stick to your own lane. Because it might be you who sets someone off. And you don't want to be at the end of it because they're up to here. And it might be just a stupid little thing like accidentally bumping into someone as you're walking past them. I don't know. At the moment, I think we all need to be very well aware of our surroundings, be very well aware of who we're walking past, who we're driving past, who we're talking to on the phone, anything. You can worry about things that are happening on the other side of the world and wondering how that's going to affect my life, but you don't know how it's going to affect the guy next door or the girl on the other side, because their issues are a lot harder than what a few US boats doing a blockade are ever going to do. They're nothing compared to what some people are going through. And you will never see it. They'll smile to you, they'll say hello, they'll have a very different outlook compared to what's going on in here. There might be one bill that they need their paycheck this week, otherwise they lose everything. And that's what a lot of guys have hanging over their heads at the moment. It's the kids, it's the wife, it's the mortgage, it's the water bill, it's the phone bill, it's the car bill. It's all these things that are piling on top of each other, just one on top of each other, and they feel drastically responsible for all of it because they're supposed to be the ones that take care of all that sort of stuff. You know, their job is to go out, get a job, get the income so that everything can just run. And yes, there are two-parent incomes, but guys sort of tend to take on that responsibility a lot more. I'd hate to think of single parents at the moment. The pain they're going through must be insane. You know, so if somebody, you know, that you know is a single parent, say g'day every now and again. You know, make a bit more for dinner and take it around to them. You know, because that one little thing could mean the world to them. And it kind of reminds me of the videos that we've seen where you know, the question's asked, you know, the only time the guys get flowers is at their funeral. Now, it's not about the flowers. It's about the praise. It's about the goodwill that they are doing the right thing. They're doing a good thing. You know, I'm proud of you, honey. You know, I'm proud of what you're doing. And if you need to talk, talk. That's what we're here for. You know, those in a relationship need to sort of take a serious look and go, this is a partnership. We're in this together. You know, yes, we've got kids. Yes, we've got all these responsibilities, but we are in a partnership. We need to share some of this burden at the moment. I don't know. It's not getting any easier for any of us, really. I'm okay, by the way. I'm not going anywhere. But there's a lot who are struggling. And I just, you know, the guys in particular, I think, you know, because women all get together and I've been told what you girls talk about. Yes, even the But guys, no. Guys, no. We don't talk. Not talk. We yabber. Well, I do that rather well, but guys don't really talk about the stuff that they probably should be releasing. And sometimes if they need to go and play a game of golf and take it out on a little golf ball, let them. Just let them. It's, you know, if they go out there and smack a golf ball 300, 400 yards, let them. That's their aggression coming out. Poor little golf ball. Better the golf ball. Better that they do it to the golf ball than themselves or anyone else. So, yeah. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And thank you to William for subscribing. Do appreciate it, mate. Have a chat. Say good day. Say hello. I don't bite. Not very often anyway. Anyway, I'm going to go. Yeah. Sorry about the lack of videos, but this one's still not really doing what I really wanted it to do. But it's a start, I guess. Have a great night. Have a great morning. Sorry it's so long. It's going to take about 2 hours to upload. But most of my audience is in bed or about to go to bed. So I should be okay. As long as the sun comes up, that's the main thing. It's going to be a good day. As one of my favourite video people, subscribers say, it's going to be a great day. Great day. Have a good one.